I guess we're live. I want to do a video. I have so much material, so much to go through, so many comments, so many people going the other way. And it's the institutionalized Canadian, the Treaty Indian, the Inuit, the Métis. It is right across the board. It's everybody. The point of this video that I'm making right now is an introductory to Cascadia, Caledonia. Well, what is Cascadia? Cascadia is a region of Canada and the United States, formerly occupied from Russia. Russia had a piece of it. They did not colonize, and they certainly didn't replace the indigenous population. In fact, they logged all the languages, and in their culture, the Russian people's culture, they made sure to continue that on. Add it to the governance of Russia. Take the languages, take the culture of the people. It's a dual assimilation. Right or wrong, that's what happened. That was the Russia-American company. They trapped furs, they took everything out of Alaska in life, took as much of it as they could until there was not enough left. This was the same for all European countries. The Hudson Bay Company did the exact same thing. Massive regions. But this post is about Cascadia and the overlap to Caledonia. What all Canadians, First Nations, whether you're treaty or you're unceded or treaty of a former crown colonial, or you're Inuit in the Arctic and you're under that agreement by those countries which are Russia, USA, Canada, and some others. Not many. People need to know the differences, what's really what as it really is, history as it really is, how did we get here, what are the real issues. Well, I can tell you this, the Wet'suwet'en, the Six Nations, largely Wet'suwet'en and many others more than the Wet'suwet'en are on what's called unceded land. Canadians, do you know what that means? That means nobody has that land. It belongs to those people of those cultures who are sitting right now with not a treaty in a perpetual state of a silent war. Meaning those people must declare war against, right now in that territory, the UN State of Canada, Government of Canada. That's what unceded means. Where do we find unceded land? Most of British Columbia. Half of Ontario. Why only half? Because Ontario doubled its boundaries when it assumed the Northwest. They took the Northwest Territory from, yes, all Treaty Indians. They have Treaty Indians numbered. Where did they get them? From redefining the Ontario boundary. This is the same thing for Quebec. British Columbia, Quebec, Ontario. Not the same in large part for the rest of Canada. Small postage stamp Manitoba, same thing, but very small area. Not that it's diminished. We can get into Atlantic provinces. A lot of the people dead from disease or eradicated long before even the British got here. That's the truth. You can look at Portuguese and Spanish. That's the Atlantic Canada. We can look at Newfoundland, what they did. They left Canada. They were their own sovereign country. Before the UN, before the definition. And in 1952, when they thought They thought the crown was abolished. They watched the Governor General of UK be disassembled and all lieutenant governors across every province disassembled, removed, and all the UK moved back home. Newfoundland came back to Canada. Sadly, it was a con job. Sadly, the government of Canada assumed all those crown colonial powers absolutely for themselves. Cascadia is a region that is currently mostly in the United States of America, with the region of British Columbia, the entire province, in Canada's territory that wishes to be claimed by that group. That group is not just Americans, it's not just British subjects, French subjects, or other subjects of former colonials. Go all the way around the world. They do. And they find a home there because that Constitution, the Constitution of Canada, empowers those areas in Canada to perpetuate it, to grow it, to foster it. Wealthy people who wish to be in the first class, which is limited in Canada or in the entire world, banned from the UN, but not Canada and not 16 other nations. This is the truth. The Wet'suwet'en 6 nations, and it goes on and on. There are major peoples who've not been settled. No treaties, no deals, no nothing. The Crown has assumed that land. They don't want to settle it. Life is water, which is what the Wet'suwet'en always say. You will find in every USA Constitution, all of them, 50 states, 50 regions, they adopted the American Indian principle, which is also the Canadian Indian principle. We can say First Nations, we can say all kinds of terms. Legally, you're the Canadian Indian under the Indian Act. Or you're Inuit under the Arctic Council, or you're Métis, and you as well are partial to the Indian Act, as well as provincial designs and settlements. Very limited, only found in absolute ceded lands. This is the greatest division in Canada right now. Unceded lands foster the most of the worst, perpetual and ever-growing first-class citizen designed in Canada. A system outlawed worldwide by the United Nations Security Council. It is to be abolished. We're going to go into this in great detail, effectively looking at why so much is happening to reduce Canada's ability to send their resources out to world market. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to present, along with the PCC, Party of the Canadian Constitutionalists. We will get this done. I have major work to do to rebuild this party, as I took the narrative of pro-vaccine, went with the health officials. It had to be done. It was mandated by the P5, which is the United Nations Security Council, the allies of World War II. Nothing to do with Canada. Canada had to accept that. They had to. They have to accept many international laws, and many nobody's called them out on. Many I'm going to work at. Alberta, specifically in Canada, is a huge generator of natural resources that threaten the Cascadia boundary. That's the truth. There are states overlapping this. We have to go to each and every lieutenant governor. We have to show them that the Treaty Indians of Canada have not been settled or in any way, shape, or form ever received anything close to what the United States of America under Richard Nixon, followed up by Ronald Reagan, nobody has gone through that. Nobody. They stop at the Arctic. They act like the Treaty Indian in Canada doesn't exist. Worse than that, we have unceded claims, meaning people who are forced into a perpetual state of war, not declared. The Wet'suwet'en are being pushed, prodded, poked, and have never been settled. Alberta, you have no idea. Saskatchewan, you have no idea. Manitoba, you have no idea. Your provinces, largely ceded, and there is an overlap in BC for a lot of the Alberta treaties, but it's a very small amount. It was those chased inward. Oil and gas, that resource that belongs to all Albertans, well, it belongs to the natives too. I wanted to go forward today. I had a paper ready to serve to Oxford. I'm not going to do it because my country, Canada, is so broken. The people are so broken, so institutionalized by a system corrupted beyond corrupted, 900 years old, that has never really ever given the people any rights at all. It runs a serf class system. In the international laws today, what's happened to First Nations people in Canada, residential school genocide, we can go on. There's even more. Another post today, another lawsuit. What Treaty Indians or unceded Indians, Métis, Inuit have to know is that there are criminal laws in place today since 1945 and a few decades after that require the lives of those who perpetuated it to be served and to have a constitution imposed that protects you, all citizens. This is to be the UN state of Canada. It is not the UN state of Canada. In fact, the UN state of Canada, led by all registered federal and all of the region political parties, don't want to see any kind of settlement, let alone the power to the people. There are no regional constitutions. Zero. You give all your power to your elected premier. He or she decides what rights you get or what rights you don't get, including property. First Nations understand this. Unceded Indians of Canada understand this. Six Nations, you got your belt strip. How well has that worked out for you? Wet'suwet'en, how well has that worked out for you? You are in a province with the power over you of the NDP government. How well has that worked for you? We can go through every province, especially the unceded. We have a Conservative, we have NDP, and we have a French Liberal. What I learned on this journey and where I've got to right now, everybody, Quebec is not the French Quebec we all think. It's why I failed my voting algorithm in the province of Quebec. Why I was out 8 seats just in the province of Quebec. Because Quebec, well, the people are French, and they truly believe that they are French and they are for the France narrative, and they have these systems in place for their culture, their language. The reality is their French leaders are all tied to the British system that Canada imposes. A British system, everybody, a British system that hasn't existed since 1952. UK doesn't operate like this, hasn't operated like this for the entire length of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. The entire reign. She does not govern Canada. She does not govern any of the Commonwealth countries. In her name and in a small payout, millions of dollars to the royal family, we are a $1 trillion economy in Canada. If she really owned all of Canada, why would the family only get a few million? It's a con game. I took a journey to the Supreme Court of Canada. I went through it and I found a fraud block. The Supreme Court of Canada, that building right there in Ottawa, was built in 1946, 1 year after the war. Queen Elizabeth was not queen then. King George VI, her father was. They added to the block, they give a plot on it, carved Queen Elizabeth over her father, saying that she is in charge of Queen's Court, which is impossible because she didn't become queen till 1952. Which begs the question nobody wants to ask, who put that there? Was it Queen Elizabeth or was it the Canadian government? We see this all over. It's why I participate in the tearing down of Sir John A. Macdonald's statue in Hamilton, Ontario. Decolonization. World-binding law. Canadians have no clue. You give all your sovereignty, you pray to your politicians. It's a sick system. Outlawed. Other countries, Barbados, and the list goes on, have been leaving that system since 1945. When will Canadians wake up? When will Alberta realize the unceded Indians of Cascadia, i.e. British Columbia, Wet'suwet'en for one, need your help? You need to go there, learn those people, and get the job done because they need your help. When will you learn Six Nations, Ontario? Those people need your help. Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, they took what was the Northwest Territories, chopped it up, made provincial boundaries, and locked out a lot of the Indigenous population. Left out to rot, accept this or die, and even if you accept it, you're going to die. In the United States of America, Canadians understand this, especially you in BC, you in Ontario, absolutely, all through Mohawk territory. You're on rivers, you live on lakes. That's wrong. Water is life. The USA, Canadians, you can't find, of all 50 states, any one of them individually who takes water away from all the peoples. They accepted that from the American Indian. Not Canada, not in 3 unceded territories. BC, Ontario, Quebec. Now we can ignore this stuff. We can let Cascadia and going into Caledonia, which is in that Mohawk strip, which comes exactly from Cascadia. Same players, same people trying to design a system. Sure, they're all first-class citizens, loyalists to a system that is not the current UK. It is an old system that is alive and well, a version in Canada. This is the issue. This is where people got to go. I will work tremendously hard to get this education out to everybody. I'm not scared of the Canadian government. I'm not scared of threats made from other groups. I give truth, facts, and history. I've had my chance recently here to leave Canada, take a great position in the central USA, to go around and be a part of developing social studies curriculum. USA's awoke to an enemy very old. Right here in Canada, an NWO leader that leads this fight against not only all the Canadian third-class working slave citizens, because that's what you really are. That's what you are. It's also against all the First Peoples and all your designations. Alberta, you want to hope? Your hope is invested in Wet'suwet'en and Six Nations. Those are your allies. They need your help today. You're fighting the same fight. Get together, get it done. In the new year, I will be publishing this in its entirety. Residential school genocide. It's in the ICC. Zhang Jun, one of five people in this world with the international legal laws at his command, brought Canada, the Canadian government, and Treaty Indians, seated or unceded, forward for the first time in all of Canada's history. This is reality. This is fact. This is where we're going. Thank you. That's my video. I look forward to doing more and more and more. Bye now.